Preps, welcome back to our art lessons for week 8. This week we are going to be creating some antique old looking paper, which is really good to use for projects, or if you want to make a treasure map, or if you want to write a letter to someone and make it really old. So let's have a look at what we need today. We don't need too many items this week. We do need a baking tray to work on so that we are not spilling tea everywhere. We will need some tea, any tea will do. I'm just using a English breakfast tea that I get from Aldi. You will need a mug. You will need some warm water. It does not need to be boiling hot water. I'm just using really warm water from the tap. You will need some plain white paper and of course a cloth to wipe up any spills we might have. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my piece of white paper and I'm going to start tearing the edges very carefully. You don't have to tear all the edges. You can always tear the top, then you can leave a bit, start tearing the bottom. And this is going to give our paper the look that it's really worn, that over the years it started to just fall apart. So we're just going to carefully tear some wonky lines. You might want to tear into the paper and then come back out again, just to make it look really old and really worn out.
Now I can put my torn piece of paper in my tray, ready to go. Here I've started preparing my tea, so I've put 2 tea bags into my mug and I've filled it up halfway with warm water. It does not need to be boiling water. You can see this isn't steaming. It's not too hot. We don't want to burn ourselves, but it is very warm water out of the tap. So I've filled this up halfway and you can see my tea starting to get really nice and strong. Now I can pull out a tea bag. You don't have to squeeze it too hard. You can leave it a bit soggy. And I start to press that all over my paper, and you can see now why we put our paper into a baking tray, so that we didn't create a big mess, and we can just use as much tea as we need to. I'll dip that back in, and I'm using my tea bag as a sponge. We don't want to just pour our tea straight into our tray, is we don't want our paper to get too soggy. So you'll start to see that it's gone a bit flimsy, it's gone a bit soggy. This is where we need to start being very careful with our paper. All right, I might grab the other tea bag now. By dabbing, I get this really cool effect where I have lots and lots of different tones, lots and lots of different shades of the tea color. I can always dip in like a sponge and get a little bit more tea, making sure that I don't let my paper get too soggy. You might see that your paper has become very flimsy, very soggy, and those edges that we have ripped are very fragile. So we don't want to create a big mess. We don't want to rip our paper anymore. You can see mine's already starting to rip again there. But make sure your paper is fully covered. When it dries, it will dry a bit darker than what it is now. Okay, so I found a nice sunny spot on the deck. I'm going to sit that in the sun to dry, and I'm going to make sure that it's a little bit wrinkled so that I get those different tones, so that the tea dries in different areas. And then what you can do is you can squeeze your tea on top, drag that out a little bit, make sure it's nice and wrinkled, and we'll let that dry. And the good thing is we've got Bonnie here to keep an eye on it. So I think she's going to keep an eye on our tea stained paper while she's having a bit of a snooze in the sun. Hello, Bonnie.